No, that's Welser. Welser's the person who apparently created magic in this world. Like, is the first person to like channel magic, to say like, we're gonna take this energy, we're gonna do something with it. Apparently, Welser is that. So yeah, yeah, I love it. I'm about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm about. Don't worry about it. Okay, those. Nope. Nope. Oh, we can make highlight videos now, and I can insert ads. I'm not gonna do that, but good to know that I can. I can clip it. Nice. It's a new thing. Oh, my microphone's still on. Hey there, rulers. Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will. School is out. Classes are out, but if you need a little extra help, you've come to the right place. It's office hours. I am DMO73, and I am joined by the wonderful Paul Reisman.
What's up?
You can talk now. Yeah, there you go. And today...
Yeah, I can talk now.
Hey, today we are going to be talking about all the spoilers. We're just going to jump right in. But before we get to that, again, as always, if you like what we're doing, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. If you want to support us, you can click that join button down below and become a student or alumni of Ruler School. You get access to all kinds of cool perks, including your badge by the name, the emotes, everything else like that. And it goes to help us improve the channel. And again, you can also check out that link down below to get your pre-orders in for Epic of the Dragon Lord through Odyssey Games. They have been told that they can get as much as they need to get to people who need their product. So go ahead and check that out and use the code alumni in your checkout to get free shipping in the continental in the United States on any boxes, 2 boxes or more. So we are going to go ahead and jump right in right now. We got Obrozuki spoilers and Lilias spoilers to jump to. But first we have what is arguably the best one drop that we've been wanting for a very long time. Exorcist Mage at the Academy. 1-drop 4/4 quick cast. Gains barrier as long as there's a +1/+1 counter on it. If a resonator would be put into the field without being played from a hand, remove it from the game instead. And as much as I would like to keep talking about it, Paul, I have to stop off camera for a minute. You are up. Talk about this card with the chat. Go.
Okay. Hi, chat. So the reason I really like this card is because this is a 1-drop answer to literally anything that can just be cheated in. So things like Sig is just auto removed, which is kind of nice. So there won't be as many Sigurd shenanigans as well. And the fact that you can just keep it on the board by, just it being on the field with Obrozuki makes it just really sticky and really hard to get rid of. Plus, it's got quick cast, so it's a nice just 4 damage. If you have the +1/+1 counters on it, you can of course do more damage. But I imagine more times than not, I'm just going to let this sit on board and just let it screw over my opponent who wants to play Sigurd. I'm trying to think of like other things. So like Rezard recursion lists really don't like this. If you're not running Sigurd or whatever, they don't really like this card. So I think it's really solid. And I wish I had the chat on my screen. Here, I'm going to pull it up on my... I'm reading all of the cards off my phone. Let me find y'all real quick. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Oh, hey, Matt Seymour. See, I got you. I got you all. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is just a really solid card. I don't know what else to say about it other than it's cool that, let's talk about flavor, right? Let's talk about flavor a little bit. Okay, so apparently, Jeremy's telling me this before the podcast starts, apparently there's a magical academy in canon now, and this is probably a student of that magical academy.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
There you go.
Have we talked about how
dropping the lore bits?
Have we talked about how this card is something that we have been wanting since Lorite rotated? In a sense.
I don't know if we talked about that. I pretty much said a pooped on Sigurd and
it
pretty
does
much
a lot of
any
stuff.
recursion
Yeah, any kind of like cheat-ins, reanimates, flat, anything like that. I think this card is bonkers good as a nice little answer card. Like, it does what we need it to do in that regard, and it's been something that's sorely missing. You can use this in response to things like casting Sigurd to make it so Sigurd never hits field. You can do this in response to things like Schrodinger to make their flicker target suddenly go away forever. There's so many things that this card does. You will see this card in 4-ofs, in main decks, in decks that play white. Unless the format completely shifts away from ever trying to do cheats, which, to be honest, within a single release of this card, we could see that. Decks just, don't want to cheat stuff in because they're afraid of this card. But, if a cheat-in reanimate strategy is successful in the meta, this card will see play at 4-ofs in mains, if not immediately in sideboards. Just hands down. Card is great.
I was thinking about just all of the different ways that in this past set, all 3 rulers will bring something in out of the deck, whether it be a minion or a fairy tale or a stranger, and you just cast this in response for 1, and their judgment feels a lot worse.
Stops a Melgus flip, stops a Melgus Godart, stops a Faria flip, stops Prisia from generating tokens, like stops, like it suddenly feels really bad if you're Valentina casting Forbidden Summoning, because then your Gorgons just, you choose to keep them in your hand rather than putting them into the field, which makes Forbidden Summoning feel real bad. Like, this card is a, hey, slow down, you got to play things properly kind of card. But it's well costed and quick cast, and it's also a body, so it's not just like, oh, hey, I can rip this out of your hand super easy. We also just don't have a lot of good early targeted resonator discard, which means this card is probably going to sit in your hand safe for a couple of turns, which is when you want to be stopping people from cheating things is in like turns 1, 2, and 3. So it's very, very nice. The other cute thing is here, Stephen Wells mentions, is this is actually a 1-cost tell Arla his Godart effect is lose the game. Because if
so
Arla,
all of the best rulers are just suddenly not amazing.
So like if Arla hits his like if Arla activates Godart and you flash this in and they don't have an immediate answer for it, Arla's Godart resolves. All of the strangers he would put into play get removed from game again. He doesn't control any strangers and immediately loses the game. That's a thing.
There you go. That's the thing.
It's also helpful against, Rezard's flip, right? Because it means that like he can't grab something out of the graveyard because it'll just get RFG'd instead. Like, this does help a lot. And I think this card is, of the spoilers we've seen so far, this probably has the most like high value play across the board, just for what it can do, because every color has a cheat in of some kind. Like Alice's castling for blue, like there's some kind of cheat in effect in every single color, and so this has some kind of application against pretty much everything, at least so far.
It's also a rare, so it's not going to be too hard to get a hold of. It's going to be high demand.
It's going to be a high demand full art, that's for sure. Thankfully, because it's a rare, it will be easier to get than say like a Shadow X was, but it's still this card is going to be expensive. It's going to be a higher end rare for sure. Next up, we have a card that we have seen already from, I believe, pre-release. It is the Endless. It's either the pre-release or the buy box. Endless Starlight, the Star Sword, 1 white. This card deals damage to target resonator equal to that resonator's attack. Then put 2 +1/+1 counters on a resonator you control. I really like this card. I think it probably gets slotted into pretty much any. Obviously any Obrozuki deck, right? But I think if you're a deck that, I honestly could see this potentially taking the place of Schrodinger's Cry based on the deck.
Yeah, it definitely fits a different niche,
right?
Because there are some things you don't want to see go to the graveyard, so it depends on what the meta looks like, whether Cry is going to be better than this or not. But another really solid 1-drop white answer to anything, and it doesn't require the attack, right?
Well, it says deals damage to target resonator equal to that resonator's attack. So like this also isn't always a guaranteed kill, because sometimes a resonator is going to have higher defense than its attack. This is something that we've existed, right? The Crime and Punishment was an old card that did something similar, but this is kind of better. It also doesn't require you to take damage before you can cast it. But there are going to be cards that can play around this, right? So we might, the popularity of this card might see us playing resonators who, their defense is higher, so they can kind of dodge around this spell. But also
play Wall of Ideas.
Oh yeah, man!
Don't play Wall of Ideas.
Suddenly make your defense higher. Like there's lots of different things here.
Don't play Wall of Ideas.
Yeah, probably not. But overall, pretty cool card. I like it. Moving right along, solid. Though, we have our first dual card that was no reprint involved. This is Flute. the captive Dragonoid child, 1 white, and then her alternate cost is the group of comets. It is 3 white and 1. As a 1-drop, she is a 1/4 with barrier, who can tap to produce 1 white or tap to put a +1/+1 counter on an entity you control other than her. And then on her J Ruler side, her alternate side, I got to figure out what we're going to call these cards. Her alternate cost is destroy all J resonators with no +1/+1 counters on them. I love the fact that they made a board wipe spell be the other side of a mana dork.
Not much more I can say about this. I mean, it's just a solid overall card. It's going to really facilitate a lot of Oborozuki's stuff where she wants to reveal all of these different cards from the top of the deck. This is going to give you 4 +1/+1 counters to put on her front side. So if you end up getting it, it's not dead later in the game. Yeah, most mana dorks would be.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like, it takes your mana dork that, like, back in the day, if a Sacred Elf or Elvish Priest, you're like, oh, I'm in top deck mode, I need to come back. Top deck and Elvish Priest, you're like, well, GG, that was a good game. But here, you're getting this nice, like, backup. You can be like, okay, well, I'm top decking. Yeah, it's a mana dork, but it's also a possible field clear, which is nice. It frees up some deck building space for sure.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing that's nice with her, I think, is the fact that she's a mana dork that has a tap effect that you will probably be using during the untap of the first turn after you have her. Most of our mana dorks, things like Sacred Elf or whatever, you get the mana, but you're really not using them for the most part until, like, your next main phase. Because she has this alternative mode to put +1/+1 counters on stuff, that's really nice. Like, you can have her survive your opponent's turn, go to your turn, put a +1/+1 on a magic stone, because, you know, that's an entity you control. And so you can even get that little tick of advantage even before you start to use it to ramp, which I think is really great. This is worthy of being a super rare, in my opinion, wholeheartedly. And beautiful artwork. The fact that, you know, we see these differing perspectives be a part of the card is really, really cool. I can't wait to see what these look like foil, man. These split cards.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, they already look gorgeous because they're basically full arts, but they have the art cut in half instead of obviously. But and it's a Dragonoid. We haven't seen a Dragonoid in white in a long time.
I know, right? Watch for me to get suddenly Ryula. I don't know.
Ryula reprint, and it's got, like, banish your opponent's deck on it.
Oh, sure.
Heal your J-Release, banish your opponent's deck.
So next up we have Starlit Canopy, 2-drop edition. Enter, remove target non-Magic Stone, non-J Ruler entity your opponent controls with total cost 3 or less from the game. And then whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on this card, you draw a card. So going along with the fact of, you know, you don't always want to be putting these +1/+1s on resonators, or what if you don't have a resonator, you know, you want to get that advantage somehow. I think this is great. It also lets Obrozuki, like, we know that she reveals, right? So sometimes she's going to reveal a card that she really, really wants. How does she get it? What if she needs it right then? So giving white some kind of access to this, like, situational card draw is also pretty cool to me. So I like that a lot. Even just as a concept, it's we'll have to see the speed of the format, right? Because with some of the things we're expecting, there's kind of a mix in the community, I feel, about whether or not the format's going to slow down, whether or not the format's going to speed up, or whether the format's going to stay the same. With it, if it stays the same or speeds up, in terms of the competitive side, this card probably sees little to no play. If it slows down, I definitely think this card could be like a 2 of in, like, Oborozuki decks. It does come down to how starved that deck is for removal and how low costed things are. We'll have to see.
Yeah. I can see this going 2 to 3 because it is a removal spell
Right.
on an addition, which is very different. I mean, folks have been talking about this forever, how additions have not mattered in this game for a very long time. And you get like 1 or 2, you get your like Verdant Garden Sanctuary that gives stuff swiftness, or you get your altar. But now, I mean, we saw the roads, right? The roads are actually really good for the most part, and they actually facilitate the win condition of the ruler they belong to. And now Starlit Canopy is just adding more of that. Just do your basic mechanic and get rewarded for it. And then if you place this, it's not a dead card. The fact that it removes something is like,
Yeah.
maybe I'll actually play this more, and it's actually worth a rare slot.
Yeah, and the other thing is too is like unlike something like Seal of Lenneth or Cage of Mother Goose, if you remove this, you just don't get the thing back. Like it's just a permanent RFG.
Yeah.
Which I also think is good. Like especially if you consider the curve of like Flute on 1 into this on 2, not using Flute, like leaving up Flute as a removal source for a Schrodinger's Cry or something else. I like that a lot, because then, you know, if your opponent makes a play that you need a removal spell for, you've got Flute, which again, going with the spell that we talked about, right? So what if their follow-up is a resonator that has more attack than its defense? Well, Flute, kill it, put a +1/+1 counter on the Starlit Canopy, and then get a card, right? So get some value out of that. I would just want to make sure that the spell does say an entity, right? Oh, no, it does say on a resonator. Ah, that's unfortunate. But that would have been cool. But I still think that there's a lot of functionality there, especially since, you know, will efficiency becomes more of a consideration. Will efficiency becomes less of a consideration in a color that has ramp. So Flute existing does help facilitate Canopy being a more present card. Speaking of another split card, we have our first Marvel rare. Rhea, Dawn of the Star, non-vampire Rhea. What's up? Sorry, Rhea, Spawn of the Star, an even weirder name. Whenever a +1/+1 counter is put on this card, choose 1. This card deals damage equal to its attack to target J/resonator, or you gain life equal to this card's defense. And then on the flip side, it's Twinkle of the Star, which is double the number of +1/+1 counters on each magic stone and light entity you control. So, hey, suddenly everything's very swole. So this card is definitely worthy of a Marvel rare, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
This is the first
I think at this point, I just wonder. Yes, this is the first time she's been in what I'm wondering if this is the first Marvel rare where we say you need 4 of this or not.
I mean,
because a 7/7 on 2 is pretty good. Like, we're creeping the power of this, but it's also a way of just controlling the field, right?
It is, for sure.
And that seems really easy to accomplish.
If you're playing an Obrozuki deck, I think that there's no reason for you to not play 4 of this card. If you're playing an Obrozuki or a light-based +1/+1 counters deck, I think that there's no reason for you to not play 4 of this. The outside of Obrozuki, you know,
right.
It depends on your +1/+1 counter generation, right? But because of the fact that her spell side is only for light entities, anything else, like this. So the question becomes, in terms of how insane she gets, the question becomes, does it see +1/+1 counters as packets, or does it see +1/+1 counters individually? And we got to wait kind of for the CR, FAQ on this. Because if she sees +1/+1 counters as packets, then even if you put 3 +1/+1 counters on her at one time, she'd only trigger once, right? So the wording makes me think that she might just see each one individually, which could definitely make her nuts. Because, even the spell, right? So then, like, that spell, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on something. Okay, so now we've suddenly made Rhea a 9/9. We've cast this spell. We've removed your guy. Rhea's going to trigger 2 times. We're going to gain 9 and shoot one of your other things for 9. seems good for one. Like, so
Yeah.
like that's gonna be dependent. I like the fact that she doesn't have any symbol skills. Like, I think that's a nice balancing to her. She doesn't have any way to give herself natural protection. Like, she is a bot, she is a powerhouse, but like she vulnerable. So I like that a lot. But yeah, I think if
She also
playing...
dies to the 1-drop spell, right? So you just cast this and it kills her.
Yep, because she's
so that's like a nice
she's even. Because she's
balancing.
even. So like, yeah, so even in the mirrors, there's ways for you to be able to kill your opponent's Rhea, which is cool. I like it a lot. Yeah, overall, cool card, cool artwork, very lore driven, and I'm about it. So let's do it. Next up, we have Grace of the Star, 1 white, quick cast with Remnant. Did somebody say that white needed a rapid growth? I don't think so, but we're doing it. So 1 drop, quick cast, white. Target resonator gains +4/+4 until the end of the turn. If there's a +1/+1 counter on it, it also gains Eternal and Barrier until the end of turn. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a normal rare.
That's a normal.
So
That's pretty good. Again, rapid growth is great. Rapid growth has always been good. Giving something eternal and barrier at quick cast is very good. However, there's a lot of ways that you can play around this card of, like, as always, you know, any form of protection. You could just double remove something or remove the thing in response to it being given +1/+1 counters. Like, +1/+1 counters use the chase more often than not to be put on something. So like, you got to think smart, and you got to time your removal correctly. And then, you know, sacrifices. Eternal and Barrier don't get around Banish. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. What's interesting is in the card, like, I don't think I've ever seen low-costed cards like this give Eternal and Barrier ever in the history of the game. Like, unless I'm like just not remembering, but Eternal or Barrier is always like
AO4 has the only other card that does, which is the Black Moonlight, which if the thing that you're targeting is limit broken, you also give it Eternal and Barrier. But like,
this is just generic.
This is just a
like,
generic.
That's solid.
Does it have a +1/+1 counter on it? Cool, it's safe. Which also, yeah, it's nuts. This card is really, really good. It's also gonna go back to. Go ahead.
If only it said Jade Resonator, I'd be like 4 of this in any Dark Alice list, hands down.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't say J-Res.
It doesn't say
Rapid Growth did say J-Res. So
that.
that's a nice little. You're right there. That's a nice little. That's a nice little bonus there, is that it at least doesn't save J-Reses, or J rulers. You still have to find a different way to protect them. That's for sure. I do think this card finds play in almost any Obrozuki deck, at least as a 2-of. Like, there's no reason to not.
Oh, yeah.
I think this card is like hands down. I mean, white has had stat manipulation effects before, so it's kind of cool to see it go back to that route. You know, think about force with +1/+1s and a lot of that stuff. Like, it is kind of going back to that vibe. And white has also almost always been about protection. So sure, give me a thematic rapid growth that also is in white's concept of like being protective. I'm about it. Let's do it. I got
better force.
Yeah, better. Yes. Can we just go straight to the +1/+1s? Ignore the die rolling. Let's go. I mean, go. Let's go.
This is the whole concept, the whole mechanic behind this is just better force. It's not +1/+1 counters.
It's just better force. Yeah, for sure. Next, we have the Blue Eyes White Dragon. We have Star Dragon, and then we'll very quickly talk about Twinkling Dragon. So we've seen in both, spoiler alert, we've seen in both red and white these 5-cost and 3-cost dragons that get cheaper if you're playing into the mechanic of that ruler, right? So Star Dragon is a 5-drop flying precision pierce 17/17 that you can pay 1 white less to play this card for each magic stone and light entity you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. So again, the wider your board gets, or the more magic stones you choose to dump +1/+1 counters on, the cheaper this guy gets. Technically, you can cast him on 2 if you hit a turn 1 flute, because first stone, Obrozuki, second stone, flute, like flute to the stone, Obrozuki to the stone, and then you've got 3 entities. So this guy costs 2. However, in my opinion, the weakness of Star Dragon is the fact that this boy has no protection and has no enter effect. And if Gwyber's appearance and then lack of relevance in the meta has shown us anything, it is that you can make a big boy cheap, but that doesn't mean he good.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I mean, it definitely is a better Gwyber overall.
Oh, agreed.
Because it has precision and Pierce, which, by the way, it has Pierce. We have Pierce back.
Yeah. Also, precision. Also, precision with Pierce is weird because of how Pierce works in Force of Will. So, like, precision kind of nullifies Pierce a little bit because, like, if I'm attacking a resonator and you block with a different resonator, my damage still goes to that other resonator. So it's like, am I really ever going to be swinging this at a resonator when I could be swinging it at your face? But
especially with that 1 drop, give this thing +4/+4, Rem, give it another +4/+4. Now it's a swinging 25 in the air with
Eternal and Barrier.
Double Eternal, double Barrier. So you have to target it twice. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
And then Twinkling Dragon's just smaller, right?
Yeah, Twinkling Dragon.
Gwyber.
Twinkling Dragon is just a 3-drop 9/9, little cutie boy, and all he has is flying.
Yeah.
So
Gwyber.
These are very cool cards. I see them very, very fun to play in limited. I'm not sold on how good either of these cards will be in competitive, purely because they don't have natural protection and they don't have an enter effect. So it's like, is this what you want to be spending your turn 2 will on turn 3, turn 4, when it has to sit there and it doesn't even have swiftness? That'll be the kind of toss up. Very cool cards for the concept. Overall, meh.
Yeah, both died to the same 1-drop spell. So.
Yes, also both died to the same
same spell. Yeah,
same thing. But hey, you got to print solutions in with your problems. So whatever.
Yeah, I think if you're opening into the game and you're like, I'm new to this, you see Star Dragon and you get hyped because you look at this giant 17/17 beat stick, and it's a 5 solid steel, solid will icon thing. So you're gonna play it anyway for the sake of Obrozuki, right? Just to get all of her +1/+1 counters on her, and I think it's okay. We have to see what the other bosses we get in the set are.
Yeah, what are the other boss monsters gonna be? And that's it for white. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into red. We have not had as much red. We've got 6 red cards to go over here. First up, we have Arla. No, I'm just gonna say Arl. I would imagine that's how it's pronounced. Arl, the 7-tailed fox, our second Marvel rare. And then it's a split card. Whenever damage dealt to this card deals that much damage to target player or J/resonator. Keep in mind it says target, and we do have cards that give players barrier. So based on how relevant this card is, that barrier giving ability might become relevant again. And then you can pay 3 to put this card from your graveyard into the field. Hint, hint, that's casting a card not from your hand, and so Magician can say no. The student can say no. And then
nope.
Quick card. The other side is Arl's Flame. This card deals 1,400 damage, decided as you choose, to target resonator you control and target resonator your opponent controls, you must assign a minimum of 200 damage to each target. Essentially, this says burn your own thing for 2, hit your opponent's resonator for 12. There might be a reason to do more than that. I'm not sure, but that's what that text reads 99% of the time. The cool part about this to me is that the one quick cast chant then sets you up to being able to reanimate him later because he'll be in grave. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I imagine that we'll see anytime we have an effect like this that's like, oh, when this thing takes damage, your opponent takes it too. We always have people trying to do one shot 40k of damage to that thing to then kill your opponent. So that deck's back immediately, right? Which will be cool. I mean, it'll be cool to see. Those decks are always fun to see, like what iteration, how did they get there, right? How did they get to 4k damage on their own thing to kill their opponent? The last version of it was Karmic Reversal. With
oh wow, that's a deep.
The last version of that was Karmic Reversal with the Alice Master Rune, where you just dump your hand to burn something for their like combined cost. And then you just Karmic Reversal or using Nyarlathotep to like burn itself a million times. It'll be cool to see how this comes back. I also think this card is worthy of being a Marvel rare. In any red deck, you're going to probably want to play 4 of this if you can get them. Much in the same way of... So I do want to talk about this a little bit with Obrozuki and then to this. I'm looking at both of these cards. I'm looking at this card. I'm looking at Obrozuki. If I can get 4, I want 4, right? If I don't have 4, can I still play the deck? And looking at these 2 Marvel rares, I would still say yes. I would still say that you could play the deck that you want to play in this style, even if you can't get 4 copies of this Marvel rare. Would you agree? I don't know.
I would say that more about Arlie than Oborozuki, because Oborozuki seems like one of those cards where you put it on the board and you protect it, and it's a threat. Like, you don't get to play the game. Like, you have to be playing a control deck more. It's hard to say because, you know, I definitely think Rhea right now is a stronger Marvel rare than Arlie is, but Arl or whatever. But it is a good burn card, but that's about it. Like, the resonator is not getting me excited. It's the chant side, but the entire card of Rhea is getting me excited.
That's fair. That's very, very fair. Moving right along, we have our card that was spoiled with Arlie. That's probably how it's gonna go. I'm gonna go with that. You're right. I'm gonna go with Arlie.
Okay.
Here you go. That's it. It's confirmed. Cute. Hashtag confirmed. Arlie. Next up we have Contract with the Fox God. 2 red, non-quick cast chant. Reveal the top card of your deck. Count the number of will symbols in the cost. Produce red for each will symbol you counted this way. This card is very, very clearly meant to go along with Lilias's look at the top card, you may play it. And the other thing is to note about this card is it becomes better the less void you play in your deck. Like, the less void cost there is to your deck, right? It also becomes very, very good for split cards. Because a lot of those will produce more will than they reveal, right? So you can get a lot of value out of it. I need to be able to see Lilias be able to look at the top or control the top more before I get excited about what this card can do.
So there's a couple things I want to say about this.
Sure.
One, Force of Will has created some really, really interesting incentives for us to play within one color. In the sense that the more of the fire symbol you have in your cost, the more like just fire, you're going to be getting more off of this card.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
You're seeing it with a Oborozuki, you're seeing it with this card. That's really interesting to me because in the past we've seen people say, well, we need to ban dual stone so it's a little bit more fair to get these powerful effects. We don't want people just splashing in all these other things, but they're keeping us within single colors by incentivizing us to play cards that benefit off of you having single colored decks and therefore single colored magic stones. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you would agree with that.
No, I think I would. I think,
but the second thing,
tying something, I think you're right. Tying something to stick to your primary color, you get better advantage out of it, is definitely something to help mitigate the, but I want the utility of multiple colors. I like that a lot. I do. I haven't thought about it that way.
It's also interesting we're talking about this kind of card and like how can we control the top of the deck using Lilias, and we're talking about a red ruler and a red set of support.
Yeah.
That's very different. And it's really outside of color, but I don't hate it.
It makes it feel more like you would want to drive that towards being a burn deck. Because a lot of what Force of Will's burn has been is I'm an aggro deck with gas with gas at the end. It's never really been a burn deck. It's always just kind of like, I'm an aggro deck, but I can burn you for the last 1,000, or I'm a combo deck who burns you for 40 in one shot, right? There's never really been just like an actual burn that I can think of. I mean, like, yeah, Mars, I guess. But like Mars didn't do anything. So it's cool to me that like looking at this card makes me see, oh, you could build like an actual just burn deck with Lilias, which I will not be the one to play for the channel because I'm terrible at it, but it is cool that we can have that happen.
Oh yeah. And the next few cards really make it interesting as to say, like, I'm probably playing 4 of this card, 3 or 4 of this card, depending on what I want to do. And I'm probably not steering myself toward an aggro list.
You know what a card that's probably going to see a 4 of play if you're playing it burn style is from Ghost in the Shell, our good old competent investigator who looks at the top 3, draws 1, and puts the rest of the back top of the deck in any order. So you can kind of be like,
do we get that in chat?
Yeah, someone. Well, I suggested it now. There's also a cyber interface. Looks at the top 4 and rearranges them as you choose. Also a card from Ghost in the Shell, which fits because it's void, so you can play it as a raw fire. So very very cool stuff that's going on there. And if I know Steven, I know that he's probably looking at some kind of combo burn deck. So that's cool to see.
Apparently he is.
So next up we have. Weird Art McNecessary card. Spirit of Scorched Vales, 3 red spirit. Enter, choose a player. This card deals 200 damage for each J resonator they control. Produce 1 red for each J resonator that was dealt damage this way and wouldn't be destroyed by the damage. This is again what's speaking to me as like a burn deck, right? Of you're not trying to be aggressive, you're trying to be like synergistic kind of combo, build on top of each other to kind of ping your opponent down. And this card to me is absolutely an enabler of that. I know that when we first looked at it, it was paired up with the card that we're going to see next, which is Thunderwolf. So it was like, that is weird to see these two together. But when we get to the dragon for this card, for red, you're going to go, oh, that's why this is a super rare.
It's not red eyes. It has red eyes, but it's... No, it actually has white eyes. I lied.
Yeah, no.
It's Black Dragon.
I mean, this is a pretty cool card. I don't think you're playing it. I don't think you're playing it as the aggro variant. I think that this is designed to be that like burn style, kind of slow chip take on Lilias. One thing to note, however, though, is after you flip her, this card becomes a board wipe. So, which is nice. You know, Lilias with 10 strength counters is high, 3-drop, burn your entire board for 12. Seems good. Seems good.
Seems good. I just see this really solid synergy between contract, this spirit, and then just being able to like just play all these different cards that are. So we're gonna talk about the dragon later, but you go contract into spirit, you get 3 mana, cool, free spirit, burn your board for 2, produce a bunch of red will, drop a dragon.
Yeah,
you could do wombo combo stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
which I think is
so you're stoking the flames.
Hey.
Yeah,
I like it a lot. Next up, we have Thunderwolf. I'm also gonna call this Tevawolf.
Wait.
So
I was like, Tevawolf, is that you?
So this is Thunderwolf.
Inside jokes.
Yeah, this is Thunderwolf. He's again going very much in the theme. Every single card that you'll see tonight has its color cost is pure red. Split card, 3 red, swiftness 9/9. He gains precision, first strike, and +4/+4 as long as your opponent controls a damaged J/res. Cuckoo Kachu combos really nicely with the fact that we probably just produced 3 red will off of Scorched Bales. So great. And then weirdly Thunder. I do want to talk about Thunder. Thunder itself wasn't seeing much play. Even in Melga's decks. So like I have 3 thoughts. 1, it's weird to see a card reprinted in the very next cluster. Thunder was reprinted in Alice Origins, and now it's immediately being reprinted in this one. 2, Thunderwolf as a 3-drop would have been a playable card, even as a not split card. I, however, do like this being a split card because, like I said, Thunder wasn't seeing play. This is a way for Thunder to see play while not being its main focus. Like Thunderwolf, you play this card for Thunderwolf, and then sometimes you get your opponent down to 5 life, and you're like, oh wait, Thunder. Which I really like. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, I think Thunder sees play now only because it's attached to Thunderwolf.
Yes, agreed. I don't think you play Thunders. I think you play Thunderwolf Thunder. Yeah, but I like it, and the artwork
Thunderwolf Thunder.
The artwork is gorgeous. So.
Oh yeah.
The artwork is great. Yeah, Logan. It should have been Lightning Strike. They could have just called him Lightning Wolf, and made it Lightning Strike, so that we have like Thunder and Lightning Strike in rotation. Oh well. It's not where we ended up, boys. Next up we have the card that is, in my opinion, hands and fists better than Star Dragon, Hunting Dragon. So 5 cost, 17/17 with flying, no swiftness. Thank you for not giving these giant cost decreasing dragons swiftness. Thank you. Everybody in chat, let's give a thank you, give a praise if you've got emotes. Give a Lilias Petal foul praise emote in the chat for not giving these bad boys swiftness. Please and thank you. I expect to see the Lilias Petal train going. You may pay 1 red less for each damaged J resonator. This is on either side of the field. If there's a damaged J resonator, it makes this guy cost less. Enter, destroy all damaged J/resonators your opponent controls. This card gains +4/+4 for each destroyed resonator this way to your opponent. This is the wombo comboing that we're talking about, right? Play Scorched Bales. Your opponent you hit 3 resonators for 200 each. You produce 3 red. Suddenly, this guy's in your hand. There's 3 damaged J resonators. He costs 2. You spend 2. You get this guy. He hits your opponent's 3 resonators. Your opponent takes 12. You've got Scorched Bales and Hunting Dragon on field, and you still got 1 red floating. Like, the synergy this guy has with Scorched Bales is insane. For Thunderwolf Thunder. Yes.
For Thunderwolf Thunder.
Yes, for sure. You people are doing the
Look
wrong.
at that, 4K.
You people are doing the wrong emotes in chat. I specifically said Lilias, the praise, and I got Keurig Flexes and Gil Lapis Kappa. The praise. Come on. I worked hard on these emotes. Works with the red black stuff from AO4. Yeah. Also, the idea again. The question becomes, like we said before, Toby, of how much do you want to go into a second color to lose some of the benefit of being pure colored, which will be interesting. Like, that's the other thing that was that's the other thing that I'm very interested in. And Paul, I'd want to hear your thoughts. We have Split coming back. We have Split coming back, right? We have to assume that all of these resonators are going to have a special magic stone. It's probably going to be single color, and it's probably going to do something other than just produce will. That's pretty par for the course when we go into single color clusters. The question becomes, is the strength of these single color decks, the benefit they gain from being single color, going to set us up to start having stone decks that, the benefit of being single color plus the threat of Split? Do you think that there's a possibility that we see a push for special 6 basic stones again in like primary color?
I was thinking about that as well, just a little bit, because I'm choosing to read Toby's comment as like this could really pair well with Malgus and just start doing ridiculous crap that has a more red base than a black base. You play red for everything, then you play a little bit of black for your Leviathan, and then you just wombo combo from there. But I wonder, because I mean you need so much consistency for your Regalia, because you want to go Regalia turn 2 like consistently. And so I think what this does is it immediately throws Lilias into the ring as like, this is going to be a really powerful ruler, hands down, because of the incentive to play them. Her Lilias? Her. Okay. Yeah, playing Lilias to me is like immediately interesting, because I'm like, oh wow, I don't have any of these like negative incentives. There's literally no reason for me to do it. I mean, I don't want to play Regalia, so I don't want to play multiple red cards. All of the red support is nice. I mean, maybe the Flame King shout mode, just play that to play my Thunderwolf. Maybe. Maybe. Or play my Scorched Bales, so I can just, for 2, just burn the board for a bunch of damage, produce a bunch of will. But that's about it. Like, I don't really see any other reason to play that support. So if I'm Malgus, I might go in that direction, but I honestly don't think so.
Yeah, Logan brings up a good point in the chat. Even with Split, you do what Keurig did in Wanderer before it got all the Divinity Rulers. You use Split to kill when you have more life. So you still play it as... you still play into your special magic stones, but then you just only cast it as the Split mode when, even with the damage you're taking, your opponent would die first. And so, they're like, the amount of damage that they would take kills them and keeps you alive, and thus you win the game. Which is, I mean, it's a split card with Ground Splitter Rapid, so like absolutely that can be a way that you choose it. And so like that to me is how we're going to see the balance, right? Is there going to be enough strength in playing mono color to stand by itself, and with only one set in the cluster, is it going to outweigh the advantage of being able to go utilitarian with multiple colors, even with a threat of split in the format? So toss up.
Yeah.
And then our second guy here is just the tinier version. We have Chasing Dragon, who's just a flying precision 9/9 who gets cheaper for each damage resonator. So again, each color we have Big Dragon, Tiny Dragon. So we'll have to see what green dragon, blue dragon, and black dragon do. Void dragon? Void dragon is just Ragnarok.
Oh, that's true.
Void dragon's just Ragnarok, boy.
Second smaller Ragnarok?
Tiny Ragnarok. It's just IU.
Ragna Pebble?
It's just IU, like, sitting there like, hey, what's up?
It's the new emote for the channel.
It's just tiny
This is
IU.
that art. Tiny Ragnarok emote for the channel.
Yeah, for sure.
Just put it on a card. There we go.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I know that we probably have one more day of red at this point. And then we'll jump into blue, which is Celesta with the treasures. And I'm about it. I'm about that Celesta life. I'm really excited to see what the treasures do, how her mechanic works.
Oh my gosh.
I'm hyped. I'm hyped. I'm also
pay one less blue for every treasure removed by this card's effect. Just
has an enter effect. Okay, got it. Cool, got it. Big dragon blue has an enter effect. We good. I am also interested to see. So this week should be one more day of red and then blue and green, which means next week we'll be able to talk about Celesta and Welser, which I'm very hyped about. As you can tell, I've got Welser right there. I'm rocking it out. I'm excited to see what comes out of that deck. I'm imagining a ton of ramp and a lot of spells. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm trying to look in the chat. Yeah, people are saying, bring on the treasures, baby. Yeah, absolutely. Bring on the treasures. For sure. Give me that Gretel / Selvring Wind split card, baby. No. Absolutely.
Logan, this is why you're not going to be hired.
Logan, come on, buddy. You can't do this. You can't bring back Severing Winds.
Just don't bring back Severing Winds.
No, it's not going to happen. Gretel is also not going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
Gretel in a format with dual stones equals not going to happen. Hey, Rhea Yorukaze, welcome. Hell to the no on the Severing. Yeah. Of the spoilers, I think if you had to pick one card from this set of spoilers that we talked about tonight, Paul, which one would be your hands down favorite?
Oh man. I'm really tempted to say the Exorcist Mage at the Academy, our favorite one drop. But I think it's between that and Contract for me.
Oh, and Contract. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about will-producing cards, this seems like the bread and butter card that Lilias is going to play for the rest of time. I mean, this thing is just going to say, reveal the top card of your deck, produce a bunch of will, go off, right? It's your enabler card, and then, I mean, Scorch Bales is pretty cool. I just want to talk about Scorch Bales because I'm sitting here and interested in the fact that this is named after a magic stone that is not a true magic stone.
That's an interesting thing to me. Is like,
but I'll continue to answer your question. Contract and The Exorcist.
Okay, I think for me it
sounds like a horror movie combo, but
I think it's I think for me it's a tie between Flute and The Exorcist. I think having a mana dork that can be not a mana dork just gets me excited, like about what kind of things you can build with that, and not feel bad about. Like, I can just slam 4 Flute in a white deck and be like, yep, this is also my board wipe spell. Great. On to the other 36 cards. And I just think Exorcist was needed. I think Exorcist had to exist. And so to see it be made in such a good, splashable, like, reactable, but not overbroken winning the game by itself way. That also puts restraints on you as a player. Like, it says any, right? So, like, if you're going to play this card, you have to respect it too. I like this for sure. I like this card.
Yeah.
If only you could get either of them off of Awakening of the Winged Lord for Rhea or are you saying for Rhea or for this? Rhea you can't get because she's a 3-drop. Because of her quick cast spell. And Flute
that's true.
And Flute you can't get because she's a 5-drop. Off of the quick because of the spell.
Interesting how that all balances out, huh?
Hey, it's great.
We were thinking ahead.
Yeah, Rhea and Flute. I also do like the fact that Exorcist could just say, like, oh, you better grab an edition. Exorcist
Yeah,
is
let's talk about the best card in Alice Origins now being neutered by 1-drop.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, and I think that speaks to it just speaks to a lot about what this card is going to do in like bringing a sense of balance to the meta and like forcing different deck construction. Like, this card existing is going to force different deck construction without being like, oh my gosh, you have to kill this or you lose, right? It alone does not generate threat. It is a 1-drop 4/4 without flying. Like, it is not winning you the game by killing you. But it is a card that you have to respect, and it is a card that can seriously pump the brakes on a game if you don't respect it, which I'm very excited about.
I would also say what's really interesting about the fact that Exorcist exists and all of this removal and this will production, it almost incentivizes you to slow down the metagame, right? The idea of
this also stops, like, Exorcist would stop you from casting a resonator off the top with Lilias. Just saying.
Yeah. So it's even good ahead of this. So it's going to be good for 2 years total. But I think about this, like, you don't want to have a wide board and you're not going to want to just throw resonators on the field. You're going to want to pick and choose, because otherwise you're going to get hunting dragoned and your board's going to get wiped and you're going to lose, right? So, like, there's this big incentive to not go wide, especially against Lilias.
Yeah, for sure.
I just think how it's interesting. Like, card design is influencing the meta in a way that I didn't expect. It's just sort of like putting tent poles in different places, and that just changing the way we look at the game state.
Yeah, for me, that's really cool. I also think we might be seeing a return to a mid-range format. Don't tell my Grants. Mike,
if only you were here tonight.
Don't tell my Grants that we might be entering a mid-range format.
Hold on.
No. Don't tell him. I said don't tell him, Paul. I'm going to cut the stream off.
Hold on.
I'm going to cut the stream off. Okay. Anyway, regardless of that, we thank you guys so much for joining us here tonight. I hope you guys have had fun. This has been fun getting to talk spoilers and be in kind of this more chill environment. It's been really nice having you guys in the chat. If you like what we're doing, if we made you smile, if you want to help us get bigger and support us, firstly and foremost, you got to click that subscribe button. You know, usual YouTube nonsense of liking and subscribing, and, you know, talk about us with your friends who might be interested in the game or plays the game. But again, if you like what we're doing so much to be able to support us in a more financial way, the easiest way is to just click that join button down below. You get access to the emotes, the badges. You will get, when we do things like when we did the Teacher's Lounge, or when we get back to doing lesson planning or GP streams, if you want to be a part of the chats during those, you have to be a member to join in the chats on those. The video will always be available for everyone. The chat is exclusive to members. You get to be able to have your decks doctored, have ideas submitted to be on the channel and featured, swag. There's all kinds of cool stuff, and it is the easiest way to support us. And the more members we get, the more emotes we get, which is all kinds of cool. So again, we hope you guys have enjoyed it. Even if you choose not to be a member, we hope you enjoyed it, and we love doing this kind of content for you. We'll be back again next week with another fun week of spoilers here in office hours. But for now, office hours are closed and they are over. So back to school. And this has been myself, TMO73, and I've been joined by Paul Reisman, saying,
See ya.
Until next time, class dismissed. Have a good night, everybody.